PolyBoard allows flexible drawer system configurations for all brands and types. In this video we will set up a drawer system from Blum with a wooden drawer box configuration. The type is the MOVENTO BLUMOTION. The setup of drawers in PolyBoard is done in two parts. The drawer runner on the one hand and the drawer box on the other. Let's start with the drawer runner. As you can see from the datasheet, there is a diagram showing the spacing of the holes for the runners. We require this diagram in order to set up the runner in our fitting library. In this presentation we will use the version already set up in our quick design libraries. Open the fittings library and select the Blum hardware section. Open the drawer section where you can find and open the MOVENTO type. We have created an applied and a built-in version of the runner. In this case we will use the applied version. In the tooling section we can add the required drilling holes according to the spacings and specifications as represented on the datasheet. Click on Cancel to exit the library. We will now add the wooden box setup by using the drawer submethod. Click on the drawer submethod icon on our quick design toolbar. Click on the plus sign in the left column to add a submethod and call it, for example, Blum/MOVENTO. Click on the plus sign in the midsection and select the slider length applicable for this submethod. On the right side, we can set the different slack values to be applied on the drawer front according to the type of drawer and the inter-drawer slack for multiple drawers. I applied a few standard slack and recess values according to type, for example 3 mm for the built-in drawers and 1.5 mm for the applied version. Inter-drawer slack can be set at 3 mm. Click now on OK. You will notice that the selection turned gray. This means that the selection is still active. And let us now click on the assembly button. A new window opens and gives us access to the setting parameters for the drawer box. The first parameter to define is the lateral slack. Let's have a look at our datasheet. In the top left image, you can see the drawer box inside the cabinet with a value of 21 mm mentioned between the cabinet inside and the inside of the drawer box. The maximum thickness allowed for the drawer box panels is here 16 mm. The slack value to set in PolyBoard is the difference between these values, so 21 minus 16 equals 5 mm slack value. You see that the added slack also appears on the visual. Now let's set up the way of assembling the different drawer box panels. In the priority order, you can define the panel position according to its priority. We want a wooden box where the side panels cover the back and the counterfront, and the bottom panel needs to be located inside all panels. This means that the bottom has the lowest priority and the sides needs to be set as the highest priority. You can see the changes in the visual. We will now also tick all 4 elements to confirm in the submethod that we will use all these elements. An unticked element will show as a nil panel in the design. A final setting on the drawer box configuration is, if needed, the addition of recess and overlap rules. The datasheet shows that the panels overlap the bottom panel by a value between 12 and 15 mm. In our example we will use 15 mm, but also you can see that the bottom panel is grooved into the other panels. Let's apply this to our drawer box. Click on the plus sign to add a rule. In the new window, a selection menu appears. On the overpassing panel, we select the side, the counterfront and the drawer back. In the next column, the drawer bottom. In the properties, we fill in the overlap value of 15 mm. We change the type from recess to groove and set a groove value of 10 mm. Click on OK. The rule lines will be added and the visual will be updated. The drawer box is done. We now need to set up the different references. The following parameter is the top reference. We have 3 different subparameters to choose from. Top of the zone inside, which will define the space between the cabinet inside and the top of the drawer box. This is in fact a parameter that we will use. Drawer top. This parameter compares the top of the drawer box with the top of the drawer front panel. Height. This is to apply a fixed drawer box height independent from the available cabinet space. On the datasheet, the minimum required spacing between the cabinet and the drawer box is 7 mm. We will set for this example a value of 10 mm. We select the first subparameter and fill in the value in the top slack field. Next is the bottom reference. This is based on the same principles as the top reference. Here we will use a similar parameter, bottom of the zone inside, and fill in a bottom slack value. The datasheet shows that the bottom of the box must be set at a minimum of 28.5 mm. PolyBoard's reference is calculated slightly differently as mentioned on the sheet. The bottom reference is in fact not referring to the bottom panel, but to the actual overall bottom of the box. So we must consider the 15 mm overlap value in relation to the bottom panel. In this case, we must subtract the 15 mm from the 28.5 mm. The result is 13.5 mm to be set as a bottom slack value. The last parameter is the back reference. This defines the length of the drawer box. We have two parameters: back of the zone inside, which will adapt the depth of the box according to the available space in relation to a back slack value, and the depth parameter, which will set a fixed depth in relation to the used runner length. As we have predefined runner lengths, this will be the parameter to use. Select the depth and fill in the value of the smallest runner, which in this case is 270 mm. Let's go back to the datasheet and look at the third image. There we can see that the box needs to be 10 mm shorter than the length of the runner, called the nominal length. We could set the parameter value to 260 mm, but to avoid confusion, we want to keep the value in line with the runner length. To reduce the length of the box by 10 mm, we will have to add an additional rule. Click on the plus sign, and on the overpassing panel, we select the drawer tops. This is a virtual panel that we can use as reference to set a specific value. For the underpassing panel, we select the back, and we set the overlap value to 10 mm. Click OK. You will have noticed that the box was slightly compressed as it was recessed in relation to the virtual panel. We have now finished the drawer box setup. Click OK to leave the drawer assembly. A final setting needs to be completed. As we have set up the drawer box with all selected drawer lengths, all assembly parameters have been set for all these types. All parameters are the same for the general box setup, but we have set the depth value in the back reference to 270 mm. We now just need to select each line individually and set the correct depth parameter. Select the lines individually, click on the assembly and correct the value to corresponding length. Once all are done, click OK to close the drawer submethod and apply it to the cabinet. Select your manufacturing method and apply the newly created submethod for the drawers. Click OK and apply the method to the whole cabinet. We now select the cabinet zone, right-click and add a drawer. Select an applied drawer of 300 mm and click OK. The drawer box will appear as configured in the new submethod. On the datasheet, we see that on the drawer assembly, a cutout is requested in order to position the front regulator, and the same cutout on the back to make clearance for the drawer runner. In PolyBoard we can do this by using structures. Structures can be saved and automatically applied in full via manufacturing methods. We have already created these structures for this example in our manufacturing method. In the 3D you can see the cutout from the front and back, and also the 6 mm hole for the runner hook to secure the drawer box. Finally, let's add the required drawer runner for this applied drawer. Click on the Fitting Links icon in our Quick Design toolbar and select your submethod. There is currently no hardware inside the method. Click on the plus sign and for the overpassing panel select Facade Components, Drawers, Drawer Fronts. For the underpassing panel, select the side. Click the plus sign on the right column to add the appropriate hardware. In this case, the Blum MOVENTO applied version. We also need to apply the corresponding drawer rule and click OK. The fitting rule will be added. Click OK and apply to the whole cabinet. You can see in the 3D visual that the drillings for the corresponding drawer runner have been added. Our setup is now complete. As we've seen, PolyBoard comes with a detailed set of parameters to configure drawers and drawer runners of all kinds. The configuration possibilities are significantly extended with the Structures feature to manage even the smallest details. Thanks for watching this video.